All right, and we are live. Fix your face, Travis. The last word. LordCognito, Ebontis, Tie Guy Travis, fresh on that Thursday evening campfire, back in the saddle again. Let's talk to the man with the most colorful shirt on that I've seen in some time. My man Ebontis, the cheetah. How we doing, sir?
Doing good. 12 hours into God of War, absolutely freaking amazing. First 2 hours like blew me away, and it's just like I don't want to stop playing, so literally I had to end the podcast to make sure I could get ready for the podcast, or end the stream to get ready for the podcast, and then I can go back to streaming. Like, so yeah, this is a little break in between. Also, solo to Grandmaster in between. What about you, Travis?
I also played God of War. I was less entranced by the first 2 hours. It's a little slow, but I'm getting into it. I'm getting into it.
Nice.
Sorry, man. I don't like quick time events. It's just not my thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I
just forgot you're dead inside, so that's fine. So.
How dare I not like those really long cuts of Kratos thinking and then cutscene or quick time events in between cutscenes. No, I mean it's a great game. I'm really excited to play more, but the opening hour is like, okay, I get it. It's art. It's art. Okay, let's move on.
Oh my God!
So, anyway, I mean that's just the style, right? It's like there's a little bit of like self-indulgence. It's fine though. It's a good game. I'm excited.
We enjoy different things, which is totally fine. To each their own. So.
And I think once you're past the kind of opening and a little bit of like the pretentiousness, then it starts to get good. Because that's what I'm here for, man. I'm here for just some axe throwing, equipment upgrading, good time, and it's good at that. So I'm excited. But yeah, I've been working on a bunch of stuff. I can't talk about a lot of this.
Yeah, me too.
I'm reviewing Goat Simulator 3.
Oh, okay.
That is the big highlight release for the fall here.
Yeah.
GS3.
As you can tell, I am the first string draft pick at IGN. They put me on all of the big titles, the stuff that really is.
You just released your review for God of War, right? Yeah, you're just replaying it now.
Yeah, yeah, that's me just replaying it. Yeah, no, definitely not. But yeah, I'm keeping busy, and I also recorded an episode of Nintendo Voice Chat today.
What?
There we go.
Oh, nice. Your debut.
Yeah.
So
nice.
have you been on
every second time?
Have you been on every IGN podcast?
You know what's funny is I haven't been on the Xbox One.
Yeah,
have you been on Beyond?
Unlocked.
Have you been on Beyond?
No. I've not been on Beyond either. Actually, Cog has been on more IGN podcasts than me. Actually, I think we're tied now.
We're tied.
You guys are Fireteam Chat and X, and now you're in
Fireteam Chat and Xbox, and I've been on Nintendo and Fireteam Chat. So yeah, but I think for a while you'd been on more than me. But I've now been on Nintendo Voice Chat twice, both times because I reviewed something. And this time I was talking about Sonic Frontiers was the reason they wanted me on.
Nice.
And we did it in the studio.
Nice.
There you go.
There you go.
Your favorite environment going into the studio.
That's right. It was cool. Nice to see people.
Doubt.
We talked about God of War.
And
its merits.
Cool. I'll jump in. Yeah, for me it was just Attic was visiting New York City, so it was fun. I got a chance to show him around for the first time. We did our ILP live, all four of us in the studio audience, which is kind of a learning experience, but fun.
Yeah.
And I got it was just cool. After that, like UE, only a couple, maybe three or 4 hours into God of War.
Oh, I'm like 12. But...
Jesus. I'm late. You know what I'm saying?
That's all I do right now.
I hear it's real long though.
Yeah, I've heard it's like 40, 35, 40, somewhere in there. Could
wow.
Be. So
I didn't know that.
If you want, somewhere in there. I've heard somebody beelined it at 26. I think IGN had that article. But I've heard if you go for like 100%, it might be 50 easy. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's like that. I'm a hashtag just one over the shoulder cinematic experience, graphical fidelity, that kind of thing.
It is your just one, yeah. Literally.
Yeah, this is. I'm like, man, Xbox, y'all need to make one of these. like, I just love that style of game. So it's cool to see, Sony in their bag with that and doing a little VR stuff. And other than that, yeah, we got this very patient guest, E, that's been listening to us ramble for a bit.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to bring him in.
Indeed. Welcome to The Last Word, episode number 223. Telesto. Excuse me, I'm not sure what that was. This week, the Blue Blur and Kratos went head-to-head the United States did some voting, and Telesto seems to be taking over all things Destiny. We will get into those details in just a bit, but tonight we are joined by a community legend. An 8-bit start like many of us who was introduced to technology from the time he could hold his head vertical on his own. It's been shooters from N64 onward, spending plenty of time in Halo, Call of Duty, Battlefield, PUBG, and plenty of others in between. Friend game really is the end game for our guest, though. From college buddies getting him hooked on Destiny from the start, to his trials buddies he frequents the Lighthouse with, and he understands some of the best Destiny moments are those with your buddies at your side. You know him as the fusion rifle guy, or the glaive guy, but you better keep your eyes on that Rumble list of players, because if you see him in your match, you may as well sit back, grab the popcorn, because the #1 Rumble player has entered the match. So, let's welcome another fellow Texan, 7-time Movie of the Week winner, host of the RezoCast, drummer and wedding videographer, and if you're not careful, he might sneak up on that stage for a solo when the bride and groom aren't looking. But if not, a Movie of the Week on the TWAB, you'll likely find yourself watching one of his montage introed YouTube videos breaking your brain about things you didn't even know weapons could do, or perks that you were sleeping on and shouldn't be. So let's welcome the one, the only, LegoleFlash. How you doing? Or just Lego. What's up, man?
LegoFlash.
Lego's good. Lego's good, but
Lego.
wow, I'm gonna take that whole segment and just put it at the beginning of every video that I do from here on out.
You are allowed to do that. I will send you a copy if you want.
Yes. Yes. Okay, great. Wow, yeah, thank you guys for having me. This is awesome. What a day. What a day to bring me on to this podcast to talk about Destiny, where fusion rifles are reigning. One fusion rifle is reigning supreme. I don't want to talk ill will. My video camera will just shut off automatically if I say something bad about Telesto.
Yeah.
So I got to be careful.
But
But
we're in the Matrix now, so.
Yes, I'm choosing my words carefully here, but I am very excited to be here. Very thankful that y'all invited me on. I think we're gonna have a good time. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. Good to have you. Good to have you. Legend, it's here. Good to see you. Love the content. We got to start from the beginning. Got to start, man. Like gaming in general. I saw some NES love in there. It's kind of like an early start. So give me some like standouts from that era that kind of got you into gaming.
Yeah, sure. The NES, I feel like that was like literally like me as a baby playing NES. Like my dad used to own a video game store when I was growing up, so we just like rotated, not video store shop, like they just did rentals, all sorts of stuff. So
like
video games were yeah, video games were included in that. And so we would just have whatever was the newest console come in like right away. So there's a picture of me in front of like one of those huge box TVs, like, 80 inches, like just massive. And I'm just a little tiny kid in my diapers with the NES, but all those games like Excite Bike, the original Mario, like they all just like, that's my childhood, and then from there, really, I feel like the cultivating like FPS game in me was over in the Nintendo 64. Once we got GoldenEye, it was like, that was the like, okay, I'm into this. I have to learn how to master this. And that's what really got me, like, there's skills that I have from that I use even to this day, like clawing a controller on an N64. That was almost the only way to do it because that controller was so wonky. And so those skills have just transferred over into the way I play now. I can't even use a scuff controller because it's so ingrained in me just to move my fingers around like that. So that's pretty much my history as far as the older generations of games. I feel like of course there's the classics like Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, like all that stuff is like in my blood. And so anything that starts diving into that genre, like I feel like Destiny kind of hit a bunch of these notes for me. Shooter, but also like adventure and kind of like things where you have items in your inventory that you use later on. I wasn't a full-on RPG like player. I feel like the closest I got, I don't know if y'all ever play this game. I'm curious because it's one of my favorite games of all time, I feel like. But the old Super Mario RPG, did y'all ever play that?
We just talked about that last week.
Classic game.
Super Mario RPG,
so
Legend of the Seven Stars. I'm blanking on last week's guest because it's their favorite game. Oh, Dom, right? Papa Dom?
Yeah, Papa Dom.
Favorite game of all time. And for me, like, I was like, mine was Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG. Like, both of those were, but it was like, and very different RPGs. But yeah, Mario was special. Like that, I would love to see some weird remake of that thing, but it was a great one.
that was kind of like my introduction to RPGs. I feel like that was my only, like I never continued on in that kind of, because that's kind of like a basic, I feel like RPG, but that's kind of what Destiny is. And so whenever I played it for the first time, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. I'm more like Battlefield, Halo, all that kind of stuff was what really drove me. And so when I saw the screenshots and like promo footage for Destiny, it was all the third person super animation. And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's not really my thing. I'm more strategical. Stuff like PUBG was really like interesting to me. And so whenever I finally played it though, and everything was so smooth and had that Bungie feel, I was sold immediately.
Yeah.
So good. So, and I've just been sold ever since. Like, yeah, I love solo games that you can just play on your own for the adventure, for the story. I haven't gotten into the God of War franchise, which I don't know how, but I think I'm kind of like Travis a little bit. Like the quick time events aren't like super my thing, and like I do like I can appreciate the story, and that's what makes me want to play it. And I know that it's good. Like I played the first night I played the first game, I was just hooked on it for hours at a time, but I just end up picking up an FPS after that. But I do a lot of horror games, like the new Resident Evil, anything like that comes out. I'm like on it because we're big horror fans in this household. So I'm all about a good horror story. Are
you an owner of PT? Did you manage to put that somewhere?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
In that closet right back there is PS4 with the PT
downloaded
on it. Yeah, locked in there. I love that thing. Oh my gosh.
Beautiful. Travis, what about you? Anything for Senor Lego?
Have you ever played Half-Life Alyx on VR?
No, I haven't done a lot of VR stuff. I've played a little bit, but I'm interested. Like I'm so intrigued by it all.
The reason I ask is because I'm replaying that game right now because I'm a psychopath and I can't stop playing that game. But I kind of forget that it's kind of a horror game.
Half-Life does kind of have some feel to that.
Yeah, Half-Life Alyx definitely leans into it in some ways, but it's like a goofy horror game, but it's got moments where like something will jump around the corner and scare the crap out of you.
Okay.
But yeah, if you ever get into VR, you should play.
Everybody
should play that game. Why don't people? I
think it's accessibility. Like for a lot of people don't have the platform. Yeah.
Well, like some people don't handle VR well, which I know is a whole thing in itself. Not everybody has a headset.
I'm one of those people. Really? But you can play a Half-Life Alyx using the teleport movement.
The teleport, so
it's 100% fine. So yeah, I'm one of those people. I don't deal with full motion VR well, but Half-Life Alyx actually plays way better in the teleport mode, which doesn't have the same like movement where you're getting your brain confused. So I honestly for a while I was like, oh, that sucks, you have to teleport around in VR games, like isn't the whole point you move around? But then the longer I played it, I was like, actually this is better because having to move around, like your space would have to be infinitely large, or you'd have to have one of those like pads that you can run on with the special shoes where you don't actually move. Those weird devices which are ridiculous. But anyway,
I think about that device all the time because whenever the Battlefield, I think it was 3 or 4 came out, they did a promo with a guy like in one of those machines with the VR, which isn't anything like the game. Nobody plays that in VR, but I was just like, that's so awesome. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah. There are some shooters in VR where like if you have that set up, you're just like god tier. Like you'll crush it and run around. But it's not practical. I think the teleport is like a good solution, and it's easy enough. And it avoids the sickness.
The motion sickness, I would highly not recommend, even though I love it, I'm playing Iron Man VR. If you have motion sickness, because I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I'm moving I'm like, this is one of the fastest. I'm up in the like that.
5 seconds in and half your audience throws up. You're like, well, this isn't for everybody.
Yeah, using your repulsors to float over. I love it, but yeah, that is not for someone who has issues with VR.
Quick question though, as a horror fan, do you have like a top 3 or 4 horror games? Like, do you have a top few just for, since that is kind of one of your off genres?
Yeah. I think PT would definitely be up on that list for me. Like, that's like my favorite because it was so new and unexpected. Like I was, when it was announced, everybody downloaded it and everybody was in the same boat, just not knowing what is going on with this hallway, and everybody's trying to figure it out together. That was just so good. The mystery of it and the intrigue of what is it going to be. And I do love the old Silent Hill games. I feel like 2 is probably up there for me. And I was late to it. I didn't play it when it came out because I wasn't big on PlayStation until later on. I think I grew up with more of an Xbox game base. And so my friends had PlayStations. I would go over to their house to play. But anyways, I'm having to go back and play old games and get back into them, which is a great experience though, because you can appreciate it for what it was. And I love Silent Hill 2. I like Resident Evil 4 a lot. I wish I liked. Oh, wait. The now I'm like wait, which one's which? Not 4. 6 and 7 are the new ones, right?
7 and 8 are the new ones.
7 and 8. Okay, so I like 7 a lot. And 8, I feel like if I could name a section of that game, the dollhouse.
Yes,
dude, the basement of the dollhouse, like in and of itself, it brought the feel of PT for me, and I was like, yes, this is it. I am so terrified.
The very large crawling. Is that
yes.
that? Yep. Yeah. That,
oh my.
As soon as that happened, I was like, I'm sorry. What is the what?
Yes,
that was one of the really well done moments in that game. Not all of them were, but yeah, when you say that was definitely one of the well done sections of the game for sure.
Yeah, and there's other stuff too, like more indie games that aren't quite horror, but like grab you in and kind of like put you in the position. I feel like I got hooked on the first person kind of perspective because it just anything that sucks you into a game. So it goes for horror or stuff like Destiny or anything that like pulls you in with the story and the way it's presented and just takes you to another world. Like those are the kind of games that I'm into, regardless of being an FPS fan or an adventure fan or a horror fan. Like that's what draws me in.
You mentioned indie specifically. I was just curious, any standouts in the indie scene?
I can't, like, something horror doesn't pop up in my head, but like horror adjacent where it's like a mystery and you're trying to like figure out what's going on. Like what's the one where gosh, it's a girl who comes home to her house and it's like all empty and you're trying to figure out like who her family is.
Edith Finch.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is so good. Like I love that stuff. And I'm sure there's another one. There was one that had a lot of potential, but I never made my way through it because I felt like the puzzle to horror element was off on it. But it was a company called Sad Square, I think, and they made a game called I'm not remembering. It was a GoFundMe project, and it came to life. And it like slowly came out, but the company's called Sad Square, but I can't remember the name of the game. It'll come back to me later, I'm sure.
No doubt.
But it was okay. It was like PT adjacent, basically. So that kind of stuff really gets me interested. And I will throw one more. This one's not quite indie, but there was an Swedish iPhone game that was like a 2D crawler where you're going through the snow and you're like trying to go through this adventure and there's like ghosts that are trying to like help you figure out your story. And at the end of the game, like the game was like okay, it was just like an on the road travel kind of thing. And then all of a sudden at the end of the game, it's like, hey, you can download this other app that tells you more about the history and culture of the Swedish like lore, basically the Swedish lore. And so you download that app and it's the developer's journey of creating the game, and slowly the journal starts going insane and the game like bleeds into the developer's notes and you're like figuring all this out as you go. And it was so clever. It was so fantastic. And I'm so mad that I can't remember the name of any of these games right now, but they were amazing journeys when I played them. It
reminds me of Inscription. Because I don't know if you've
Inscription. I was talking about that game today too, because it just got announced for the Switch.
Yeah. That I am not like a card deck builder guy. Not like against, just not really for. It's just like something I hadn't really ventured in too much. And people are like, I don't want to tell you anything about the game, but play it. And I'm like, okay. So you get into it, and it kind of did. It has some weird turns in that game that you do not expect. And the way you kind of describe that, oh, here's this thing, and then it bleeds back into the game, and you're going, I did not. So it's like those when you say is like when it pulls like the curtain back and then all of a sudden it's somehow tied in. Yeah, and then somebody said Visage in chat. That's one that looks crazy. Yeah,
Visage is the one Sad Square made. Yes, that one. And then also someone mentioned Gone Home. Great game too. I was thinking of that one as well. And then also the iPhone game I was talking about is called Year Walk. It's a Swedish mobile game, and it is Very, very cool. I gave away half of the ending right there. I'm sorry. You decided
That's okay.
But,
No, you're good.
but
Like,
not knowing any of that and going in was just, it was just up there with the best experiences. It was like playing PT, not knowing it was connected to the Silent Hill franchise, and then at the end being, what the fuck? Yeah.
Exactly. Nah, that's dope, man. Salute. Great lineup. Great. I like the eclectic nature of some of these games, unique titles. So there's this other game that we've been playing here, right, on this podcast, Trav, it's this thing we supposedly allegedly do.
Yeah, I think you're referring to Sonic Frontiers.
the Blue Blur. This is home of the Blue Blur right here. Yeah, Blue Blur podcast.
Destiny, or as we call it now,
Celestiny.
Yes. So the start's there, man. Let's get to the roots of this Lego. We
one interruption real quick. Sorry, I want to get to the Destiny. What's up with the name? I just don't know the story on Lego, because you give me this entire, like, we always ask our podcast guests a couple of questions, get an idea, background in here. Nothing about like Legos. There's nothing in there, but he's got the icon. What is up with the name? I need the quick run. Sorry.
I do really love Legos, but not in the way I think that people typically think of loving Legos. People think oh, you love Legos, you have all the sets, you have the collections. For me, it's more like I love the building aspect of it. I love the imaginative building. So when I was growing up, we just had, at one point, my dad had converted his garage to a /work/ playroom. Half of it was his office, half of it was our stuff. And I just had buckets of Legos. I just loved it. And so at some point when internet games were very first coming out, I'm not sure if it was in the Flash era or what, but it was web games were just coming out, and Lego, the official Lego, they came out with this online game that was like Lego Island or Lego. It was an island that you played on, but you had to register. And I was I don't know. I was 10. I was I don't know, Lego Lee, because my name's not Lee, but that insinuates the rest of my real name. And so it was just Lego LE, legal Lego. And so that was my Xbox name forever. All my Halo stuff was done on that name. And then when I switched to PlayStation eventually, I think it was when some of the Battlefield games were coming out, or they were exclusives. All my old college buddies who got me into Halo basically forced me to switch to PlayStation, which I love. I actually loved my PlayStation 4. But after that, I couldn't do that name because it was taken, so I added Flash, not because of the DC stuff, but because I had a dog named Flash, so that's where it all comes from. It's nothing too exciting.
When did you get Lego Flash? Was this your Flesh?
Oh, Lego.
Is that?
I have always been Lego in the flesh.
Did you step on a Lego and it merged with your body? And
yes.
Lego Flash?
I do feel inclined. I do feel inclined to respond every time somebody makes a comment about stepping on a Lego. I'm hey, I gotta cut in here. I don't know what to say, but I just feel the need to comment on. I heard you. I saw that. I know you're talking about me.
You're talking about me.
Talking about me. No doubt. So we got the history. No, you good. I know we needed that. We definitely needed that. And, I definitely want to again get into the love affair of this game. That started, and I know.
Let me ask you a Destiny question. Can we just jump into the Destiny questions, Cog?
Yeah. Let's do it.
You look like a hunter, and I don't say that as an insult, even though it kind of is.
Okay.
What's your main?
So I have two mains, and I say that.
No. This is not.
No. Listen, you got to hear me.
You have two best friends, okay? You can't.
One of your kids.
But what if
you can't vote for two presidents? Okay, you need to choose one, right?
Let me give you the umbrella though. Okay. So I started as a Titan, and I do feel that my Titan is home for me, but I spend way more hours on my Hunter now, because that is what I play in the Crucible. But every time that I jump into PvE, I play my Titan. And I don't play the light level grind game because I hate it. And so I just don't. If I want to do a GM, I'll get there eventually, maybe, you know. But I play the game the way that I want to play it, and that's not grinding for light level. And so whenever I jump into PvE, I play on my Titan. Whenever I'm in PvP, I play on my Hunter. And if that costs me light level, okay, you know, I don't really care.
Yeah.
So for the Hunter, is it like the movement? Is it like what for people? Because you're a PvP, you know, you do this PvP thing. So like, it's interesting that you have that balance between PvE and PvP, but like, what is it that kind of lured you in to Hunter class to say, okay, this feels right in PvP?
Radar manipulation, 100%. Not necessarily in Viz. I've talked about this so much, but I live in the radar manipulation world because that is so everybody just they don't play the game looking at the screen, looking at their crosshair. They play looking at the little circle on the top of the screen. That's how they play. And so if you can manipulate that in any way, and I'm not talking like what are the boots that like take your radar away? Like I'm not necessarily I'm not talking Gemini necessarily, but just the ability to have a smoke trap in and of itself, like that alone is worth running that class to me because somebody's going to get tricked by that. Even if they're the best player in the world, they're going to get tricked by that. It's just almost impossible. Believe me, I've been like,
what is on the radar? Damn, smoke bomb. Yep. 100%. Yeah. Nope. Totally get it.
What's funny is at high level play, I think most people know not to stay in the same space for like more than a couple seconds. So usually if I don't fall for a smoke grenade in the first like second, I won't fall for it. I'll be like, that's not a real person. Nobody would stand that still. Come on, let's go somewhere else, guys.
Well, I like
he's camping. Come on.
I like the mental mind game of like, okay, I played this player and they know that I throw the smoke down there. So next time I'm going to throw it here, but I'm not going to move. I'm going to stay with it. Like, you know, like stuff like that. Like, do you know that I know? And I know that you know.
I know that you know that I know that you know that I know. Yeah.
Let's go. No doubt. And then in conjunction with that, you know, you've got some accolades there, sir. This Rumble, man. You do this Rumble thing. Talk to us.
I need to clarify because you say that, but like nobody can stay the number one player in Rumble in the world for that long because of the way you do have to play every single day forever to stay at the top. Like it is like whenever I did that grind. So what happened was, let me just like briefly summarize.
What happened was
I accidentally found myself. No, I kind of did. I was just playing Rumble a lot, and I realized I was in the top like 1,000 or something like that, and I was like, okay, well, that would be maybe it wasn't even 1,000. Maybe it was like 1,200 or something. But I knew I was like close to the top. I was in the top 1%, and I was like, what would happen if I just tried? Like actually paid attention because you know you play Destiny, you're goofing around, you leave matches all the time, which hurts your elo. You use stupid loadouts for fun. This is all gonna hurt, and so I never paid attention to elo before. I made fun of elo farmers, and like you know that's a pretty negative thing in the Destiny space. And I was like, well, what if I like made it a game because Destiny doesn't have a rank system. We don't have a true rank mode where I can grind and see myself progressing. So what if I made it myself and just saw how far I could get? And so I started going for it. And within like, I want to say like a week, like it was not that long, I was in the top 500 and I was like, what? Like how far could I take this? You know? So I just kept climbing until I was in top 100, and I started posting about it on Twitter, and that's like what really made me like. People were like, "Yeah, let's go, let's keep going," you know. And my friends were egging me on, and so then it was like top 50, and then I posted. I was getting pretty down at that point because the way it works is if you get third place even one time, it costs you like 5 full games to even catch up to where you were. Like, and not only that. But if you join a game late in progress, the tracker sites won't track it. And so there was a day where I swear I joined like 3 games late in progress, and they were all with the top 10 players in Rumble. And so I had no chance.
That's the worst,
yeah. And so that day I was like, I don't know if this is worth it. Like top 10 is pretty great. I could just stay here. And then I posted about it, and DMG commented on it, was like, keep going, you can do it. I was like, oh, you got it. Now I got
you've been community called out.
Yep. Yeah. So I was like, I gotta do it. I gotta keep going. And so I got to the top 2, and that's where like it took like 2 weeks to get to number 1 after that, Brian, because I was in top 2, not in everything, but just in console. It separates it into console. And when I talk about all this, I'm talking about Destiny tracker because that's the only real place that's tracking all this. And so it separates it into console and then console and PC or just PC. So you have to like manually if you want to see everybody. But the guy who was number one on console, I was just going to go for that. But he kept grinding so hard. He knew his friends tagged him on the Twitter stuff. I was like, this
Legos in your head.
he was like, this dude's coming for you. Don't let him take it. And so he kept playing every single day, like, 20, 30 games a day. And so I just kept going for it. And at that time in my life, it was, there was something, I'm pretty sure this was either when we, okay. I think it was when we had either just had our kid or it was like when we were pregnant or something. We were going through a lot of hard stuff where it was like kind of my chill out mode was playing Rumble. I know it doesn't sound chill to some people, but there's something relaxing for me about the PvP aspect of it. And so I was just grinding for it. And then it came a day where I was in the range where like if I play all day and win every game, like
let's go.
I could beat this guy. And so I was talking to my wife. I was like, okay, if I no life Destiny and don't work today, I'm pretty sure I could do it. And she was like, is it really like you're number 2 in the world? Like, is it really? I was like,
yes, I'm number 2. I have to be number 1. You're that close.
If you could be number 1 in the world at something, like, wouldn't you go for it? And as soon as I said it, she was like, oh yeah, go for it. Like that's you got to do it. And so I just took off the rest of the day, went for it. And yeah, so that's how it happened. It was crazy. That was much longer than I anticipated it being. Sorry about that.
No. This is great. It's great. Yeah. Quick question before I pass it. What was the loadout? Because I'm a loadout guy. Like, what was the whole weapon setup during that flow and subclass everything? What was you doing?
Yeah, so this was
super dated, like a bunch of stuff.
No,
I want to know what the meta was. I want to know where he was doing. Yep.
So this is the season before Witch Queen. So it was the longest season, which is nice because I had more time to like catch up. Which I did it well before the season ended, but it was nice having that cushion.
Yeah.
And so Invis was actually the strongest thing it was stronger than it is now, even because they hadn't nerfed the radar ping that comes up now every 6 seconds, depending on what you're running. And so you could, and I was running Graviton Forfeit, which back then you could stay in Viz for 12 seconds. And that's off radar for 12 seconds.
Wow.
And so no one was really running that. And so that in and of itself was huge. Rapid fire fusion rifles were the best thing in the game. Just no one really knew it back then.
Which one?
Cartesian coordinate.
Cartesian coordinate.
So
okay.
Freaking good. So I started using it at the beginning of that season and got 18,000 kills on it on that Rumble grind. So yeah, it was intense.
A little terrified of this man's fusion.
Is there any primary use?
Hardly at all. I will say this. There's one key thing that a lot of people I don't think realized, and I'm glad to talk about it here because I haven't talked about it, I don't think, anywhere else, and that is movement.
Exclusive.
Movement is such a big deal, and speed, and that's why Arc 3.0 is really interesting to me. And this is so cool. Half of the speed to get to the Arc speed boost of Arc 3.0 is just having a lightweight weapon on. Like, if you have a lightweight weapon on, that's half the speed of a speed boost when Arc 3.0. The other half would be like if you're running Dune Marchers or Stompies or something like that. But having a lightweight weapon became so important to me that I was just running through, okay, what are the best lightweights? And back then it was an SMG or a sidearm. I love the Farewell sidearm from Season of Splicer. That one is so good and slept on. But also back then it was multi-mock was so good. So I used multi-mock a lot.
Nice. Yeah, man. Tremendous, man. Tremendous dedication. Just seeing that, it's just like, wow, that's a skill set right there. You went for it, man. So salute to you on that one.
Appreciate it.
No,
it was fun.
Well, I kind of wanted to bring up in random kind of tangent here. The drive for you to go after number 1 in something that is not even inside of Destiny, just on Destiny Tracker. And you said, hey, we wish there was this ranked thing. We have talked about that on this podcast before. Lots of guests, like basically every person we have had on here. I wanted to ask you, all Bungie has said is there's some type of glory rework. That's all we know. Some people are like, is it going to be something more? Is that a comp rework? Who knows? Are we overthinking it? Granted, keeping expectations in check and not hoping for too much aside, what would you like to see that become? Would you like to see a true ladder? Would you like to kind of just be like a numerical? How would you like to see that done for you? Because having gone through that grind and literally just being driven to be number 1, How would you like to see that done, or how do you think it could be done within, say, Glory and Comp and that stuff?
Yeah, I would really love to see. I do like the idea of a ladder. I do like the idea of multiple ranks. Not right now. It's so not right now, but previously. I can't even say right now because right now the way matchmaking works, you're just playing the same people. You're never progressing. And the way it did work is that you were just stacked up into these layers basically, and some of them were very small. Like once you got to the top, you're playing very small population of people, which was fun at the time to challenge yourself, get online, and you gotta like see, okay, is ZK streaming right now? Is Pure Chill streaming? Okay, they matched. Okay, now go into a game, that kind of thing. But I think that if they had a ladder multi-tier that wasn't so small, like that would be really enjoyable to climb, and it would be beneficial for everyone because even if you're not at the top, you can see your rank go from 1 to 5 to 10, whatever that is. I don't know what I would like it to look like, but just something that shows a rank that I feel like I'm progressing frequently rather than so infrequently or have such huge setbacks where it's like, I'm never, I'm not going to touch this for a very long time after that kind of a setback. Sometimes that's okay once you reach towards the top, but I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at with it. And then on top of that, one thing that I really like, that I would really like to see, is the way Apex does its like Predator or like top 500 players. Like you can actually go and see, or at least it used to. I haven't played Apex in a bit, but someone could say like I'm the number 3 player in the world, like something like Elo does with Destiny Tracker. Like that was so incentivizing to say like I'm number so and so, and then to see like I'm number 500 now or whatever. That would get people excited to play, I think.
Ooh. Okay, Trav, you agree with this? How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, he knows his stuff about comp, so I'm not surprised that he and I have very similar views on what comp should be. I mean, we've talked about this forever, but I think a ranked system with gold and diamond ranks and that sort of thing is inevitable. If they actually did it right and proper and put some cosmetic rewards behind each of those ranks that you could get to. I mean, it's crazy that it's not in the game yet. I mean, even like, I've been playing Marvel Snap on my phone recently, and that has a ranked skill-based matchmaking system with the ranks and rewards that you get at each upgrade. So it's like, come on, man, let's go.
I know.
Marvel Snap is scooping you guys. They've been in a game for 4.5 minutes
out here.
I'm trying not to pick that game up because I've heard it's actually pretty good, but I don't need to get hooked on a
that's
mobile
pretty
game.
good. You'll lose time on it. I have to play it because I work in the industry, but like it is a time sink. I'm actually itching to play it right now on the show, but I'm not going to do that. It wouldn't be right.
They reviewed on my site, and I'm like, I gotta stay away. I get so addicted to games like that. I know me. It's like
Card
the perfect
games
company. Yeah, card games and MCU. Forget it. It's over for me.
So in entertaining fashion, whether it's chat or my co-hosts, Lego said he was open to talk about all controversial topics with regard to Destiny in one evening. He is open for all of them. So if you guys have questions about fun topics, Destiny related, please. I wanted to start with your thoughts on SBMM because that is a constant discussion.
Here we go.
No, I was like, I mean, we've heard both sides and stuff like that, so I'm just kind of curious where you are at, having gone through that grind, being the fusion rifle guy. Like, where do you fall?
Yeah. I think there's a place for it for sure. But the idea that it is so like thin, we've experienced that in so many different ways in Destiny's lifespan, whether it's comp and you have this thin layer that you're always facing, whether it's trials and you're at the top of the ticket and there's such a small pool that you're just matching, like that terrible feeling of matching the same team that you just got destroyed by twice in trials and ruins your trials ticket. I know that's not the SBMM specifically, but it's a pool, that can get very small. And then we've got the SBMM and quick play right now that felt like it started really narrow, So for me, personally, it's not bothering me right now, which is very different than I think a lot of other people's takes. And I think it's because I used to not play quick play that much. I feel like I'm playing it more frequently now that I'm a YouTuber and need to cover weapons, and I'm just trying to make crazy builds and use them in the Crucible, and so I go to quick play for that because that's the only way you can get multi kills that quickly. But it doesn't bother me that much because I'm using these wacky loadouts, and if I don't win, I don't win. Like if I am doing a grind to win, I'm either playing Trials or Rumble, and maybe comp. I don't do too much comp anymore because of the way it is. But in quick play, the one detriment is playing with friends, because I just want to play with friends when I play Destiny a lot of times, and if it's skill-based matchmaking, it's gonna screw with that whole system. I feel like Destiny does need a place where everybody can just go and chill, and so my preference would still be to have a very broad skill-based matchmaking system where it's not so thin, where the bottom tier doesn't play the top tier, and that's pretty much it. Like I don't really see the need for anything else, but I recognize that it's hard for me to speak into because I am a top player. And so I can't speak for the person who is below a 1.0 KD. It's just going to be more difficult for me to speak to them. I'm afraid to say anything else about that.
Oh, you don't want to smoke.
Because part of me was like, wait, that person is never. I feel like I've had conversations about the under 1.0 KD player in Trials where it's like, no matter what you do, they're going to struggle to get a flawless. Like that system in and of itself is difficult for the under 1.0 KD player, and we keep trying to change it to accommodate everyone. And so that's a whole other thing. But I'm curious how skill-based matchmaking fits in for that player, other than just even games all the time, but also playing with friends. That's the thing about quick play. It's not just about even games. It's about playing with your friends. It's not always about winning and losing. And that's why the whole conversation is difficult for me, because I don't view quick play as winning and losing most of the time. And that's what most of the fighting, I feel like, comes to, is I had to fight so hard. I had to do this or that.
It's like I
carried my whole team, and that's not an issue for me. Not that carrying isn't an issue, but like I just don't care whether I am or I'm not most of the time.
That's honestly a pretty reasonable approach, actually, because I mean, I am like bell curve, like middle of the bell curve, tipping slightly better than average, like a hair. So it's like when you think about, and that's why I think what you said is like anybody in the, like, as the bell curve slopes to the bottom, it's like that player base gets small quick. And I think you said it well. It's like bottom doesn't need to see the top. And that's kind of the main piece. But especially like if the top sees half the player base, I'm okay with that. You just like, a number one doesn't need to face number 1 million at the bottom of the list. Like, keep them separated, as you said. I think that would be good. But no, it's like that's probably one of the better answers I've heard for actually not just like, no, nothing. The main thing is like with, playing with friends. Like, what is it then? Is it just like an amalgamation average of your skill level, and you try and like have the other team be kind of close to that, and then just, go from there? But again, it's the whole thing with like, I was like, there's lobby balancing that goes into all that. So it was,
That's what I was going to get into. I do have thoughts about lobby balancing because I really liked one of the systems they implemented and then never touched again. And that was the week that they did Iron Banner, like dodgeball playground style matchmaking, where it was, or lobby balancing. Yeah. The draft pick. Like that was so good. That week felt amazing. I felt like pretty universally everybody liked that, but there must have been some statistic in there that they saw that they didn't like. But
I can explain why it didn't work. So it's what the matchmaking you're describing is called a snake draft. And snake drafts work, but they only work if there is some kind of skill-based matchmaking system. Because if the difference between player 1 and player 4, which is the second draft on team A with the best player, is a massive gap, then the people at the top, especially the player 1 or player 2 and 3 on the other one, feel like they are hard carrying everybody down at the bottom. So to your point, it doesn't need to be crazy. It doesn't need to be the top 10 players always playing against each other, but there have to be like categories so that when you get 8 people in a lobby or 16 people in a lobby, 12 people in a lobby, and then you do a snake draft, that player 1 and 4 are too crazy apart, or so player 2, 3 and player 5, 6 aren't too crazy apart. And so that's that's I think the reason you probably felt that it was good is either you were on player 2-3, you know what I mean? So you got like the second and third best player, and player 1 is super pissed off, right? Or maybe you got player 1, but then the gap between you and player 2 or 3 or 6 and 7 on the other team was big enough. But the people who are at the bottom almost universally feel like there's nothing they can do to actually win a match, because they're so far apart that even if they're playing their best, there's just no impact they can make. And the people at the top of the snake draft farm the people at the bottom for kills. So it's basically just a game of avoiding the people who are good and destroying the people who are bad so that you can farm KD out of them. And that's really not a good feeling for the bottom half of the snake draft. And a lot of times, even the top half are kind of like irked because they feel like they're having to do all the work. But if you have some kind of skill-based matchmaking, then it makes the snake draft feel way, way, way better. And so I think that's probably why they didn't go with it.
Gotcha.
And I'm hoping what they're doing is they're implementing the skill-based matchmaking now, and they're trying to find something that works. And then once they do, then I bet you they'll put a snake draft back in, because
that would be
make a lot
cool.
of sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
no,
my
that
hope.
makes sense. I'm curious for you, like, what do you feel about that? If they did implement that after all this skill-based matchmaking, does it make skill-based matchmaking seem more appealing, or are you just like
skill-based matchmaking to me is 100% appealing. I think that you can't really have a competitive multiplayer game without some kind of skill-based matchmaking. To your point, it doesn't need to be like crazy, kind of punitive against the people and saying like, hey, you have to be in this bucket or that. But I think that you have to have some parameters, because the problem with competitive and matchmaking in general is that it feels bad to lose most of your matches, and everyone wants to win all of their matches, and which means that 50% of the people are going to be upset 50% of the time. Or in some cases, if you have absolutely no matchmaking, then there's a group that's going to feel good 90% of the time and a group that's going to feel terrible 90% of the time. And so you have to create a room for variables where somebody can have a good game and win, and then have a bad game and lose, and then you feel like you're the reason you lost, rather than feeling like the game made you lose. And so I think that skill-based matchmaking has to happen, and I think it even has to happen in quick play. I think that in a competitive playlist, if you have ranks, it can be more strict. It can say you're in gold 3, you have to play against other gold people and even some people above gold. I think that has to be stricter. But I think in quick play, you at least need buckets. You need something to contain the chaos. And so I like skill-based matchmaking, and I'm a sweat lord. So I'm sort of in a minority group, I think, because most people who are really sweaty at PvP are like, nah, why do we need skill-based matchmaking? Let's just destroy these fools. And I'm really not like that. I just think it's bad game design. And I really want there to be some sort of system. And I feel like Bungie has really started to dip their toes into developing that. But considering the game's been around for like a decade, it's kind of taken them a long time to wrap their brain around this, and it's super frustrating to people who've been invested in the multiplayer sandbox for as long as I've been invested in it. But yeah, I really hope that they figure this out, because I feel like there's a golden age of PvP right around the corner if they can tweak 2 or 3 really, really minor things, because the sandbox, outside of the matchmaking and general lack of PvP content problems, the sandbox is rarely felt better. It's felt as balanced as it is now. It has problems. Some of the stuff that we're doing now isn't super fun in PvP, but it's not the Wild West like it was in D1, where there were like right and wrong ways to play it, and some weapons were super, super OP, and we're really not there right now. And I think that we have a great opportunity. I need a little bit more from Bungie, like 20% more effort on getting some of these systems in place.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. Yeah, I find myself aligning with that kind of mindset, like you were just talking about, a lot. And I do feel in the minority a lot. I also feel in the minority in that mindset, though, too, because I'm the player who will bang their head against the wall if I lose 10 times to a guy who's really good, because I'm like, I want to figure that out. What's he doing? What's the counter to it? Okay, if I use the same thing, am I just as good as him, or is he just really good with that thing? And so I will like dissect a play style. And I came across that a lot in Rumble, and there's one playstyle that's very good right now because one of my friends is running it with my Trials buddy Merc is running with it's like the Titan Jug Shield with Antaeus Wards. TV's real big on this right now too, his Freight Train stuff. But if you run it with, gosh, what's he running it with? There's something that I think he's running it with Shap, was Chaperone, because everybody put that down kind of
Yeah.
the way shotguns are, but it's
still good.
Really good with the
Still
jug
good.
shield. Get in, you slide, you block everything, you headshot, you've got Chaperone, crazy distance, ready to go. So it's
that
very,
sounds
very
painful.
strong. But I literally take him into a private lobby, or he'll like keep trying to join me in a Rumble lobby until we can face each other publicly. Because if you play 1v1 somebody, you kind of know like, okay, they're coming at me. Here's what I'm gonna do. But if you play in a real setting, Rumble, and you got other people running around, you're always trying to find each other and take each other off guard and be like, okay, I found the counter, So I love that kind of stuff. So it's hard for me to speak to the quick play that is where people they get frustrated when they're losing 5 games in a row, because I'm like, oh, let me face those guys again. I know I can beat them this time, even though I lost by 50 points, like whatever.
That's the competitive nature of it, and that's the game within the game with Rumble. And the few times I do step in there, I get it. Like I do see, because what happens is as that fight towards the top of the pyramid, and it's usually, for me in the games I've played, it's usually like 2 people. You're like, man, they keep beating me. What is this that they're using? And then you're trying to out strategize, and you get better. I really do. I actually, I feel like I test my loadouts to see how truly effective they are in 1v1 scenarios. Because sometimes there's some things I think feel better in 6s as opposed to, one-on-one and stuff like that. But absolutely, I think that's the way I really throw myself to the fire. If I truly believe it. So I remember when Peace of Mind, and I was doing the elemental capacitor build, and I remember when I first, like, no one put a video out, and I was like, there's something about this gun that is just super stable. And I'm looking at the stats, I'm like, it shouldn't be this good. And I didn't realize there was elemental capacitor. That was because I was going to throw the roll away, and that was like the first piece of my head. So when I went in there, and I'm just like, oh no, this thing is slaying. Like, I got to stick with it. And obviously I just kind of build around it and stuff like that. But yeah, you learn that kind of stuff, and I think that's the underrated nature of Rumble that I really appreciate.
Yeah. Nice.
Do you guys have any questions for him? Any topics that you want to see if he's got any thoughts on?
Oh, we doing that.
What do you think about sunsetting weapons?
Ooh, we doing it.
I mean, I am not bothered as much about a lot of things as other people are. Sunsetting, it's a bummer. I wish that I could still use Breachlight. That was like one of my favorite sidearms, and so it's a bummer to see those things go. But also, at the time that Sunset happened, there were weapons like Erentel that were so incredibly strong, and if you have them in your vaults, Rangefinder, even despite the nerf, doing a whole deep dive on it right now, but it is so powerful of a perk that it breaks stuff on fusion rifles that shouldn't be possible. And so if you have old ones of those in your vault, nobody uses them, but they're really good in quick play. Before the very last nerf, small nerf that Fusion's got, I was still hitting 50-meter kills with Erentel, which is, if you saw that in the Crucible, you'd be like, what? Like, I thought the range was nerfed, and you're like, yeah, but Rangefinder
is the outlier. Yeah.
So sunsetting, it sucked for sure. I hope they never do it again. I hope we're past that. But it doesn't bother me that they're bringing stuff back. I know everybody's like, recycled content, we had this before. New perks to me, like, you could repaint a gun however you want to, but the perks on it like define it. Like, for example, like Midas Reckoning with King's Fall brought stuff to a fusion rifle that has stacking that has never been seen ever before. And I don't care that there were some original things that weren't brought back with it. I know that's talking D1 to D2, but the same kind of concept applies if they bring back something. I love that kind of stuff. I know people will say recycled content, but I'm just here to have fun. I'm just enjoying the game. And if I got new stuff, that's great. It sucks that I lost the old stuff, but I'm kind of over it at this point, I feel like.
Ooh, okay. It's funny we shared that specific thing in reference to the bringing back of a gun. Like, I know it's a controversial thing right now, and me and E and Travis talked about this because I call it soft sunsetting. Like, when Origin traits came, and I'm like, yeah, like, I know what's going on, but like, you're not slick. But me personally, some of the new perk combinations really excited me, so it didn't bother me as much as I thought I was, because I'm like, you know what, this now has exciting combinations, exciting roles that I've never seen before. So Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a controversial one. I know, me and Eve kind of fought on this for a while, but I think the main thing was just the exotic part that really didn't sit well with me initially, and was worrying like, okay, if they do that, I don't know, it's that kind of thing. But at some point, I still believe it's going to happen. I don't know why. I still believe at some point, maybe because of the size of the game, and I mean, but then again, they said that they're going to be keeping a lot of content around. I'm very curious to see as the game ages and continues, because they don't seem to be hinting Destiny 3 anytime really soon.
Man, they need it though.
Right, and that's what I mean. That was my compromise at the argument at the time. I was like, I'm okay with the whole thing if eventually we get this whole new, engine infrastructure, dedicated.
We start over again.
Yeah, the fake blowing up the top. Yeah,
start over again. They have to build back all of their content, and we don't get private matches for like 3 years.
You start the base
level. The base level. I mean, isn't that what they do every time?
Double primaries starting out in Destiny 3 until they build out.
Oh, God. Let's do it, baby. I'm down. I actually don't. I think personally that sunsetting is sort of like vital. Like you kind of have to trim the hedges. You can't just let the garden grow wild, because managing a sandbox of this size is already ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're nerfing entire genres of weapons, like, all fusions do, this thing differently now, shows that there's too much bloat, right? And if there were fewer weapons, or if some were rotating out, then maybe they could tune it by weapon, and they can do stuff that's a little bit more specific. And so I'm one of the people who says they gave up on. Well, they did sunsetting wrong. That's the first problem, is that they said, hey, we're going to sunset all the weapons, and then we're going to replace it with cool and experimental stuff. Psych, we're not going to do the second part. We're just going to get rid of all the
And they didn't have enough to start with. Like, it was a weaker season when they did it, and people were like, oh, no.
People were like, we don't have any weapons. Like, what was your plan here? So I just think they screwed themselves over. I think that the community's reaction to sunsetting would have been way, way, way more positive if they were ready for sunset, and they came out hard with like, here's all these crazy weapons. They're going to be awesome for a year. Enjoy them while you can, and then we're going to move on, and the sandbox could kind of shift, because the idea that every weapon has to be boring so that none of them are crazy is like such a bad policy to me. Like, I feel like they could be a little bit crazier, and they could try new things, and they wouldn't be as scared, because right now it's like whenever they put out a weapon, it's like they're afraid. They're like, can't be too good, right? Or they have to nerf it immediately, which a nerf is basically a sunset, right? Which is why I'm not that mad about sunsetting being gone, because they're kind of already doing it, right? They're just calling it nerfs instead of sunsets.
That's good.
So, which is a smart thing to do, right? You rebrand if people don't like it, but I guess I don't know. It feels inevitable. And so I think if Destiny 3 comes, the main reason it has to happen is because of the fact that their engine is ridiculously old. It's still running Blam stuff on it. And even Blam got replaced. And then the other thing is the fact that they're going to use it basically to sunset. Right? Here's an opportunity to sunset and not call it sunsetting. Let's just blow up the box and start over.
And that's the reason why I'm not upset whenever sunsetting happens, because it's like, well, we're not getting Destiny 3. Like, if that, I mean, we might in the future, but if it was like a regularly scheduled game that we see from these kind of developers, we would have had Destiny 3 already by this point. And because we're not, I just view sunsetting and new weapons as like Destiny 3. It just isn't called that. It's just like, okay, well, we have this different version of the game. We have these different areas of the maps. There's these updated nerfs and buffs. And so this is my Destiny 3. It doesn't say Destiny 3, but I can treat it as such and not get upset about it all. I think it's hard for Destiny as a community, at least online, to let go of things. They become very attached to things. And the excitement of Destiny for me is that it's always growing. There's new perks coming out. There's new weapons and new buffs, and I can let go of my old stuff and try something new, and maybe it'll be really fun. And I think you can view Telesto this week as like a micro example of that, where it's like, if you love Telesto and it was gone all of a sudden working this different way, and it even is still working differently now, it's fun to mess around with it. And if it changed every day, it would be more fun. It's one of the reasons I wish we had something like Gun Game as a multiplayer.
God, I've been saying that.
This game, it is built for it. But this game is built for. There are 70 exotics, or how I lose track when you add them all up, like 90. I don't know. So many they could do, and you could like gun game this season has these guns, gun game next season, and then just like pick a slew of exotics to go through. Like that would be so much fun to go through.
I play Halo Infinite, and I look at the Fiesta playlist.
Yeah,
they've got like 30 game modes. How does Destiny have like 4? It doesn't make any sense.
And Halo is not a good spot, and they got more game modes. Like, come on.
Yeah, like I'm like, Budgie, you create it is so much fun to just you respawn and boom, you're cycling, with different weapons. And if you don't even want to do that, then you can have like a base. Okay, everybody starts with breachline, or everyone starts with it's SMG, and then you just keep building up. Like there's so many possibilities. I know as a developer, I'm not a developer. It's like it can't be easy technically in the sandbox, but they've got to try something, man. These are the creators of it.
I wonder if it's just they're like they don't want to spend the time into a mode that a lot of people view as secondary to the main game experience, because like it's not that case with Halo. Like people look at Halo multiplayer and they're like, yeah, that's like Halo. That's most of it, right?
But that's
it's hilarious to me that Halo Infinite is a good game with a bad live service model, and Destiny is a bad game with a good live service model. That's basically neither of them have. Yeah, neither of them have the thing that the other one needs, and it's if we could just.
But like it's one of those things that if they do, if as you said, like the Fiesta playlist, you had some fun stuff in there, but man, if they brought gun game back, like I don't know what the programming takes on the back end, because we talked about this before, and I wonder is there an issue if you're equipped with the gun that then it messes with your loadout because now you own the gun for some reason? Does it like give you the exotic even though you don't own it? I'm wondering if that's a weird thing, but I was like, I feel like there's got to be a way to still get around that, because that would just be too much fun to have.
Yeah.
And also it'd be like, what if people did get to use it? What is this exotic? I don't know what it does. Where do I get it? And they might go look up how to get an exotic that they don't have. Like you have to get kills with Xenophage. You have to get a kill with Leviathan's Breath is one of your higher things. And you're like, oh God, what is this giant bow? Like,
I mean, you made a good point. I mean, that maybe potentially could be one of the reasons from an acquisition standpoint, because the community doesn't have it, each gun individually. Right. But I struggle to believe that in a contained playlist, especially, it would encourage usage of exotics that people think are not effective, but when you are forced to put in that position to have to try to utilize it, you get better. And I remember D1 kind of made me a better player when they would I always remember that bounty I always used to talk about in D1, which it was a Shack's bounty.
Oh, the weekly, the climb the mountain. I know what you're talking about.
Something of war, the true meaning of war.
True meaning of war, yeah.
And I think the reason they play with different types.
Yeah, I think the reason they don't do it, Cog, is because it's different than in Halo. In Halo, you don't have a collection of guns you're building. They're just all in the world and you pick them up. And so in Destiny, I think the whole point of Crucible is you take the stuff you've earned in PvE and you put it to the use. And if you just put all of the exotic weapons and you throw them in a playlist and anyone can have it, it sort of takes away the PvE reward part of the sandbox, where now I get to go to PvP. And so I think that they're afraid too much of that design choice and the interplay between PvE and PvE. It's like you have this one character and this one account where you're just like building on it and making it, but I don't think that that's a good enough excuse.
No, I was going to say, even if they're worried about it.
Even if it is, there's ways around it. You could have done like all right, well, it's gun game, but you have to own the exotic, right? Or something like that. And also it doesn't disqualify them from all the other different modes that they could do that don't have that same problem. There could be an infection mode, or there's just a million examples we could think of. Juggernaut. Like Destiny would be so Juggernaut. God. Just give a guy 2 overshields, send him on a killing spree, or give him infinite super and everybody else has to try to
my
kill
god.
him.
That would be wild.
Infinite super versus everyone else. That would be like a great, and you love Rumble. That's a Rumble mode, Juggernaut. So,
you could even do stuff like the community is real big on, I don't know if you've ever seen these streams, but people playing like hide and seek. Like even if you don't like the map and the movement or something like that, like tag or something, where you're like just trying to touch the other person, because they did stuff like that even in D1 with the virus that would like spread to other people.
I remember that.
How it works.
Yes, I remember
so isn't that like zombies or something like that, where if like you get infected or something, like Yeah, and then what? I mean, you could do something goofy as like if you get infected, now you have a sword, but if you otherwise you have guns, like, and so you could kind of start that way. So if you catch them during a corner, yoink, and now you got another sword person who respawns until all the swords are done, and you could pick a couple of the bigger maps for that. And I get like it. And this is where, again, we've talked about this before, but it's like, I'm not a hardcore PvP person. I dabble every so often. Bungie says, I'm going to shove you in that playlist, whether I like it or not, every so often, which is also a reason for them to ignore it as stupid. I mean, it's a mean word to say, just stupid, because I know Bungie's not dumb, but they have the 3 pillars. They're like Vanguard, Gambit, Gambit I'm not even going to talk about, but Crucible is big enough. They've got things, they always work on it, but it's like, it got neglected for 3 years. 900 days without maps and all that stuff, and finally we got a trickle of a couple maps this year. That's one of these twabs before season 19. There's going to be some talk of the Glory rework, which, man, if they let people down with that one, they are really in trouble. But when you have them always saying, hey, go do the core playlist, go do the core playlist, go do the core playlist for every seasonal event all the time. Hey, go get your currency for the season in the core playlists.
Yep.
And they can't just experiment with some of the stuff that we're literally talking about. I don't know what it takes to build it, but I feel like they've had plenty of time. And now this is the point where, since they've been hiring a ton of people, I don't know which IPs these people are working on, but some of these people have to be building out this PvP team, I feel, to start putting some of these things in the game, because, as you guys are saying, gun game, zombies, just goof around with some of this stuff and be like, hey, we're trying this one. And just, you don't even have to announce it. Just if it's ready, hey, guess what? Here you go. And that's just going to be their featured playlist. Like, you know, Mayhem and the other stuff. Maybe that's not there. Maybe it's just zombies down there. Everybody's like, I'm sorry, what is that? Like, do you have any idea how many people, like, sure, I'll jump in. Why not? Like, that's the stuff that, and it don't put, I mean, Crucible Labs is there, but I feel like nobody plays it. So it needs to be like this, like,
honestly, now.
Yeah, it needs to be like this big, bold, like, experiment thing somewhere on the screen to be like, hey, we're trying zombies, come check it out. So it's just kind of one of those things. It is, I'm not a hardcore PvP player, so I can only imagine, of course, as always, anybody who's hardcore PvP way more, that it's like, yeah, these last 3 years have been rough. So, no, I agree.
It's weird because, like, it is rough, but I'm still having fun. I just know how much people get frustrated because they know how much more fun it could be. Like, they see so much potential in Destiny. And so you go back and forth. I don't add the reason I said I'll talk about any hot take here is because I don't really talk about my hot takes on Twitter because the voices are so loud. I'm like, everybody said everything there is to say. I don't really need to say anything. But that said, there is one really interesting conversation that I think doesn't get talked about enough in detail, and that is, we're talking about these core activities, the seasonal activity versus the core activities, because so much effort gets put into this seasonal activity that changes, and they have to do new art for, and new mechanisms, and new tactics and gun set weapons for, and all of that could be put into the core playlist that they keep wanting us to go into. And that is one thing that I think is frustrating for me as a player, is because, yes, the seasonal stuff, it might be cool one time, but then I don't really want to do it again. And even then, I really just want a story mission. If there was a story mission that had this thing, it didn't have to have all those mechanics. It doesn't even have to be a 6-player activity. Like, I've got raids and dungeons, and I love that they're committed to doing more of those every season. Some of my favorite activities in the game, doing a dungeon solo blind for the first time, is just
talking to eat out.
No, yeah, that's my world, man.
Fun. Yeah, and so that's great. But the flip side of that is, if we have these PvE and story missions, like, why? I just don't understand sometimes why the seasonal activity even exists, other than free players.
I think so. People like to reduce it to strikes, Crucible, and Gambit, when actually what it is PvE, which means all events. PvP, which is everything that's Crucible and Trials, and then PvE PvP, which is just Gambit. And so it's not really even a fair fight, because Gambit is out right away because there's only one activity that is a PvE PvP format. And I think that's why it feels so bad, in part, not just because the Gambit game type is not particularly interesting, or they've clearly let that one rot on the vine, but also because it's the only one, right? Like they did one thing and then they were like, this is our third pillar, but the pillar is a little shorter. It's rickety. It's basically like it's like they got a stick to hold up that end of the table, right? It doesn't really make sense. And then the other two, the PvP and PvE, they put so much effort into the PvE part of it. And I think there's a reason why. They know that that's their bread and butter. That's why people come to Destiny, a lot of them. I think I would argue PvP is the reason they stay, but PvE is the reason they come, right? And I think that they put a ton of effort into that. But I think the issue that we're describing, especially when we talk about PvP, is that it feels like it's starting to become a little gambity, right? Like the PvP is just one game mode, right? It's just one thing that even if they're doing it super well, doesn't feel like it's enough. And so I think that they need to start thinking about PvP the way that they think about PvE. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to do seasonal activities that are PvP focused. Do seasonal activities that are PvP focused, like activities. Do more than that. And like, it doesn't all have to be in the same season. Maybe you got 4 seasons a year. Maybe one is super PvE focused and you're having us run strike like stuff. Maybe one is PvP focused and that one you introduce a new game mode and you're having us do purely PvP stuff, and people could choose to engage or not. But the fact that it always feels like it's just slanted toward every season is PvE focused, and they don't really worry about PvP or the PvP mode that is just Gambit. I would love to see them start to treat these 3 legs equally, so that we just don't have this lopsided and rickety table, because it's hard to eat on one of those. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, dog?
And we hungry, okay? We hungry.
And I feel like Destiny is soup, which is the worst food to eat on a rickety table. Okay, it's messy. It's all over my lap. It's sliding down the sides of the table. So.
I'm with you. I think it's just
food metaphors aside.
Yeah,
it's a torture metaphor at this point. It's fine.
I think it's exactly that, and I think that my feeling is that they are gun shy based on the analysis of the engagement. And what I remember is we talked about the time they actually attempted a PvP kind of a seasonal event was it the Crimson Days kind of thing. And on its base, it was okay. I mean, it was definitely a little bit bare bones, but it was the first attempt. And what happens is the majority of the community is predominantly PvE focused. And sometimes they complain like, hey, I don't want to get into that, or, there's not enough incentive to do it. And I think Bungie may have taken that feedback and it's made them gun shy to make a PvP kind of seasonal event. But I agree that the balance is just not there. And to the original point, what Lego was making is that you can't have these seasonal activities which require the core playlist of those pillars, and those core pillars are not updated, maintained, and given new content. So it's just like it's this weird loop where they're almost they're putting them from an efficiency standpoint. I actually feel for the people who make these seasonal content, because that's new assets, new things. Like, that is creation. And then to think about it, you've made all this content from a developer standpoint, and then bam, it for the most part goes away. Now recently they just said they're going to keep some stuff, but that really isn't efficient to me. Like, you're making content that does not it's temporary content, but the stuff that you want to get the rewards, the monetization from that content, you don't upkeep, which is the stuff that it actually stays. So that to me is just weird.
They keep dungeons, they keep the new raids they introduce, stuff like that. The campaign from Witch Queen, like, if you look at the PvE,
that's the best choice they ever did for that.
Oh, that was
cool. If you look at the PvE playlist, there's the actual zones, there's lost sectors, there's strikes, there's raids, there's dungeons. Like, you cannot do anything without getting hit in the face with some PvE activity. And then PvP is one circle on the map, right? The directory you have to go to, and it's got like 2 or 3 game modes that are basically the same thing. And then Gambit has one circle that is literally just you don't even
Gambit
need the
menu. That Gambit director menu is like just sad.
You don't even need
the second,
you don't even need the second menu. You could just click on the little bubble and it could put you in the queue. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
it could put you in the queue, and then you could be like, well, normal or freelance, and then queue. It's like you don't need to go to the menu.
You can just auto detect if you have somebody in your party or not. It doesn't need a separate splash menu with another circle in it. It's crazy.
The Drifter's
so
little the Drifter's little ship menu thing is just a sad thing. Like Crucible's got all these like wasted bubbles and too many where you could have like fun what would we do? Casual, fiesta, and like ranked or competitive. You could do like 3 nodes there and simplify it and kind of consolidate some of the playlists. But yeah, Gambit is just sad. We lost
funny,
we lost 2 maps too, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
You put him. I don't put him back in. I don't care. Put him in the game.
Rotate it. I don't know. Rotate them out. I don't
yeah, that is funny, and it's weird because
I swear I always play Mars. Sorry.
No, I have friends who love Gambit. Like there were people in my clan who just like that's their thing, and they like love strategizing for it. And I'll have random people on YouTube be like, "I'm glad you mentioned Gambit for this one offhand comment that I did," and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I think about it, you know, but it's even though it's not my thing, but." It's interesting dilemma to have these players that do like it, but like it's not really doing anything. And I love what you said, Travis, about like what if it became multi-layered? Like I know, of course, we're spread thin in resources and PvP and stuff, but whenever Gambit was even announced, in my mind, I was like, oh, is there like a darkness zone where you like go in PvE, PvP kind of thing? Like, are they potentially working on something like that in the background that one day they're gonna come out with, or are they just gonna let Gambit just sit there forever stale, or because they've tried these minor updates over the years, but nothing really crazy. But ultimately, like the whole point of all of this is that seasonal activity, like you said, they're redoing it every time. All these assets are being redone. When like the core basis of it, if you just wanted a 6-player go shoot a boss activity, you could just have one room, like pick a setting or a setting that changes out like Gambit does, and just add stuff to it like a core activity playlist. Oh, look at that. And so you could just add to it like a core activity playlist.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would free up those assets to go into PvP or PvE or something entirely new that we don't know about.
Yeah. No, the opportunity is there. My hope is just that I'm holding out hope for Lightfall. And my hope is that, with the next season, we get a little bit of a step towards, glory stuff and, that slight baby step. And I'm hoping that when I see those notes and that the, how like the marketing stuff and it talks about all the features and this is like, I'm just hoping we got something meaty for the other parts of the game. Because we know we're going to get the hot new raid, you're going to get
you're going to get your raid. You're going to get your couple of you're going to get the all that stuff's going to be there, but
they've got the campaign down now. I'm really confident with that. Witch Queen showed me they have learned. Like they have taken their notes. They know what a campaign is. And to Travis' point, where it's not just a campaign for Destiny, like a campaign where it's like, no, this is a good, rich story. And now it's just like, okay, we got that, but man, let's really ramp up these PvP needs. Let's really ramp up these other 2 pillars and add something really fresh and new. And that's the hope. And I'm curious to see if Lightfall can attempt that.
Remember that time they added a second node to the Gambit page and it was a PvE mode? Was that the
Reckoning?
The Reckoning?
The
Yeah.
Reckoning.
It was not a PvE PvP mode. Yeah, it was like, wait, this is just another PvE mode that you put on the Gambit page. I'm not falling for this.
Oh,
yeah,
weird,
come on.
You don't want to go back. You don't do the
really
season where you go one activity to the next.
No, you want to go something where you go earn armor in a thing that is not helpful in that. It's only helpful in Gambit to get these rolls, but all this work you go do in this pain in the butt bridge activity and you earn this gear and then it doesn't help you in there at all. Yeah, no, that's a whole thing.
And then they remove the whole where that would have helped you. Yeah. Fantastic.
I do miss the Prime, like, what was it? Like they have
Prime
set bonuses. I do miss that. I thought they were going
right?
Oh, all of it, yeah.
All that's the same. I thought they was about to be on this something. It's like, nope, scrapped. We ain't doing that no more.
They do like baby set bonuses where like the more of this you wear, you get currency. Whether it's prisms, it's prisms from Iron Banner. You get more currency of the seasonal stuff, which after a while you're like, I don't need
even need it.
I don't need those things at all. So no, it's, and this is where I'm hoping Light follows this point where pandemic and all this stuff, we're like getting a little farther from that. They're finding this comfortable thing where they have like 20 states where they're like working remotely and stuff, and they can actually manage to hire from a huge player base, and then not player base, hiring base from just like all over the country. And then they're getting their, teams built up again, whether all their PvP people went over to make a new IP, and that's been a thing for a while. They had to build up their PvP team or something back for Destiny 2, and all of this stuff, hopefully it can't all happen at once, because it never does in Destiny, because they got to feel like they trickle it out all the time. But Lightfall does need to do something. I mean, Season 19, hopefully Glory has some cool stuff going on, and then maybe Lightfall gets to expand it a bit more. But yeah, if we don't get a cool thing for Glory, or maybe like a baby step to Lightfall is going to be more, and then Lightfall does something with PvP, it does feel like after a while it's like, why am I waiting anymore? What am I waiting for? Because you go and there's only one more expansion. Do you think you're really going to just fix PvP in the last one and be like, all right, cool, yay, there we go. Yeah, there's got to be some.
Well, they said they're going to continue Destiny 2 after. So
okay, that's the question.
That's true. That's true.
Lego. How do you think this franchise can come to an end and yet continue? So we're in season 18 now. We have 19 coming up in 4 weeks. Then Lightfall is going to be 20. Lightfall seasons is 20, 21, 22, 23. And then Final Shape would be 24. From 24 on, and then into whatever in the future is, how do you feel that can go? Because theoretically, like Witch Queen, big expansion told a story. We get some smaller stories. Lightfall tells a story. Might have some smaller ones. Final Shape, go.
Okay, my favorite version of all of this that I've heard, and I would just kill for this, but I'm wondering if people are too attached to the way Destiny is now, but I feel like there has to be a change. So I feel like they'll be open to it. But what if we went the route where like Earth, the Traveler, is all destroyed, and we just got to take off, like Dead Orbit said, have your fleets ready, go off, and like Star Trek, like take
the helm,
you're just
farther
in unknown space, going away from wherever you were. Like we become like the Elixni, and we're out of here, and everything is just new. Like whatever it is, it's all new. We have none of our old stuff, or we have some of our old stuff that we took with us, and everything is new. We find new stuff out there. We find new enemies. We make new friends. Classic sci-fi adventure. There was some TV show I was trying to think. What's the famous one with the robots and
Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica. It's like Battlestar Galactica.
I haven't ever seen that actually. So sigh.
They're like the last human ship, and they're just like out in the world trying to figure out what they're gonna do because humanity.
I mean, you got a good theory, because theoretically the helm could be utilized and repurposed for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it'll be some version of that. My thinking is that they just want to get away from like this whole darkness and light and Traveler and stuff. But I think we're still gonna have light powers. The Traveler probably just won't be hanging around, and I think we'll probably still be at the tower, or at least have access to Earth. It won't be like all sad and depressing and Earth's gone. Maybe it will. Maybe they'll destroy planet Earth at some point, but I kind of doubt it. But I think it'll just be like, okay, we're done with saying that everything is the darkness. Now we can do, every year we can just do like a monster of the week, right? Like it'll be it'll be like a new thing, and we don't have to go, well, Savathun was actually working for the darkness, and so was Callus, and so was everyone else. I hate that thing. It's so stupid. It's like every time it's like, well, actually it was the darkness the whole time. And I'm like, you're just saying that. I don't know if it's even genuine. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's so annoying to me.
You keep saying that word, but I don't think you know what it means.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. Just please, can a bad guy just have their own motivations? Can it not be the darkness every time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Please.
Yeah.
I want a monster of the week.
What's crazy is Destiny, they're so creative with their ideas and their lore. Like when you really dig into the lore, there's just so many different, like I'm not talking about just the the darkness and light thing, but just the complexity of all these different characters and the things they come up with that are just like, what in the world are we even talking about here? Like Season of Splicer, for instance, when you go in and you're in a computer, basically, you know, in the Vex world, like that sort of thing. Like they're creative and inventive in how we experience the world, and yet we're still in a tower on Earth, in the most relatable context of every like into the world story. Like, oh, it's the last city of humanity. Like they could, I know that they've got more creativity in them than that, and we haven't even been to. And so they could take it different directions. They could either, you know, do what we were talking about, where they just go off to space, but also there's so many areas of Earth that we like haven't explored yet, and that's something that always excites me in a like post-apocalyptic world, when you go explore cities that once were, and we've never done that really in Destiny, other than the EDZ a little bit, and old Russia a little bit, and that's kind of it, which is crazy because the world is so vast. We'll go to a planet and explore like one little dot on it, and then that's kind of it, you know?
Yep.
No, that's a good point. It's a good point.
I would love to see them change the way they do seasonal content to be like, instead of, and maybe this will happen after the Light Saga. Maybe it's too much to ask for that now, but I would. They could start now. Feel free.
Practice. See how it goes.
Because we've started to see them do some things. Like they did Battlegrounds, right? And then after that season was over, they added it to the PvE playlist, right? I would love to see them just make the seasonal content, because they do it anyway. Every season, there's like an activity that you have to do every week. They could give you the story, but before they give it to you, instead of doing the seasonal activity, whatever that is, you go and you do a new PvP mode that they just introduced, or a new PvE PvP mode that's kind of got, you know, a darkness zone, like you said, Lego, something like that, where it's just like a crazy thing they're trying. And then after the season's over, if it's good, they can throw it out with the bathwater like they do right now with every season, or they could add it to the playlist and make it a node where now when you click on it, you might get Gambit, or you might get this other node, and you better be other mode, and you better be prepared for both. And same with PvP. They could just do that model so that they can try new things, and the stuff that works, they can add to the game without breaking apart the player population at all these different playlists. And I'm really hoping that they do that at some point, because I feel like people are starting to get to the point now where they're like, all right, man, you tried the public events thing where every season the seasonal activity was some public event. Now you tried the whole thing where we go and we just do like one node activity, and then you take it away from us every season. I would just love to see them try that with PvE, Gambit-like activities, and start adding to stuff that's in the game.
Totally.
Please.
I'm all
Please
for
fund me.
you. Yeah, I'm completely with you on that, especially PvE side, and even on PvP side, because there's nothing really forcing you to do some of the new PvP stuff that they come out with. And have y'all played Momentum Control? Like that is one of my all-time favorite
It's great.
playlists in the Crucible, because it completely flips the sandbox up on its head.
Something like that be the seasonal activity?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let's do it.
Just give a new game mode, and if it were something crazy and over the top, even people who aren't into PvP, if you make them play it so that they can get their weekly story bite, eventually they might acquire a taste for it, or at least they'll be like, okay, this is an interesting change of pace. But not everything. You don't have to just give me a pirate ship strike where I have to do it 3 times a week, every week for 10 weeks. And like, to me, that's way worse than making somebody play like 3 Crucible matches a week where it's like a new game mode that they're trying out.
I mean,
you know
what they've done before is like the balance of, like you say, a lot of people are PvE and like, I won't step into PvP. They've done it before on bounties, and they can do a quest thing the same way. Either go do your catch crash or go do your game mode in PvP. Just do the or. Give people the option and be like this, or because at some point, some people are like, all right, I got to go see what this PvP thing. I've done 100 of these catch crashes. I got to know. So at some point, and then the PvP people might be like, you know what? Let's go see what this, and like the option will allow people to experiment more. Some people are like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. I like Mayhem. It's absolutely bonkers. It's fun. Like a PvP person is going to probably know what the PvE is like, but the PvE, which is generally we talk about the majority, probably by numbers at least, they might be like, hey, what's Mayhem or Gun Game? They might have a fun one. They may get stomped on. Who knows? Some light skill, as we said, outlier protection, however you want to call it. So like somebody who's new to PvP is like, hey, True Vanguard's in my match. Oh God, there's Flash. He's got a fusion rifle and I'm dead. They don't need to see those people, but like if they go in and they're like, that was interesting. As you said, it gives that experimentation to build it up. But yeah, if it's just always go PvE, you're like,
Yep.
They're just like
Same activity,
PvP.
They
It's like
yeah.
like they gotta like open the book and blow the dust off of it or something. Like what
Yeah.
is
It's
what
like
is
they don't-
Crucible?
I'm with you, Ebontis. I just think that asking them to make 2 modes for seasonal activity is a lot. I'm trying to give them an out. Like I'm trying to be nice to Bungie.
trying to be nice.
No, but see that's
How,
the thing.
how
Though,
often
is, like,
am I like that? Just
I know,
like give them,
I know, but I was like,
just
we
make
just said
one.
like so
Yeah.
much of the like 75% of the player base is like PvE. It's like there's some people in that chat that are like, I'm not ever touching PvP. So it's like you got to give
they
the
would
option.
if it was like do 2 matches and it's a new mode.
Some
it's new
people hate
content.
it that much, man. Some people truly.
Some people hate PvE that much. I do not want to do Catch Crash 3
get-
times a week,
hence
man. It
the
really bothers
or.
me.
Hence
Yeah.
the or.
I'm
Yeah.
just
And
trying to
I'm
make
curious.
it. I'm trying to make it easy for them.
But I don't feel like PvP modes.
Mhm.
Because if you've already got the maps and like you use the maps, I mean, all that, if it's just building how the mechanics of like what guns you use, I mean, as you said, momentum control, that's messing with a lot of sandbox. That one probably wouldn't happen as often. I love how like the sandbox feels different in that game. It's like, this is actually kind of like really fast time to kill. Totally feels that takes a little more work. But if it's just like gun game or zombies, like do some fun stuff in there. Like use that to test it out. Like,
what if it was like all swords and it's just like, all right, this season we're sharpening our swords to kill a hive monster. Everyone
Pistol,
go
like,
fight with swords. 2
like,
times
I mean,
a week. That's all I'm asking. Like it's silly. You don't have to be into PvP to enjoy swinging your
Right.
sword at a. This is starting to sound sexual really quickly. You don't have, but anyway, you can enjoy it. Is my point, even if you don't like PvP.
Yeah, it's look, I'm with you on this, man. Like, I think that they don't do a good enough job of incentivizing it because, again, taking it back to the D1, I remember when I think it was the Thorn quest. At one point, you had to go into PvP.
oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And you had to get like
Now-
void kills or something. And I was like, I learned fusion rifles at that point or
Bro,
something.
Exactly.
Same
Yeah.
thing. And it was like sometimes I know the PvE guys don't want to hit this, but sometimes you gotta eat your vegetables, bro. You gotta try other things. The game
right.
is a whole soup here, right? There's other things
Yeah.
to do. So it's like and then I remember going in there and I'm like, yo, this ain't that bad. I was angry at first, kicking and scratching, didn't want to do it. And then I'm like, all right, I jumped in there and I'm like, you know what? This is actually cool. It was
That's
like
right.
use void weapons, and I started to get better, and that's how I started to play. They have to have that balance. And to what you're saying with that point is now with Travis, like, look, I would love for them to do a PvE season with a PvP season. What you gonna give me 2 pieces of context on a?
I'm not even saying make that the season. I'm just saying make that the seasonal activity.
Yes,
That's it. That's it. Just make it the seasonal
Exactly. Make it a
activity.
seasonal
They do
activity.
that, and then they go and they do the story of the mission. Fine.
Exactly.
That's
It just
Yeah.
build that pillar up a little bit. Just give it attention. It's just the most malnourished pillar in the game. Like, give it a little love. I'm telling you, people will start to have an appreciation because at its core, and this is where I'm with Travis, that once the PvE and you've got the narrative and you got the story, you did your dungeon and you did your thing, and it's great, right? It hits that point, you've done it. But it's the PvP that keeps this thing alive, man.
Right.
It's that emerging gameplay. That's what keeps people engaged. I remember when it was House of Wolves and Trials debuted. And I was like, yo, what is this? Okay. Like, and I remember at first I was like, there's no raid this season. What are they doing? And then I'm like, yo, this Trials is kind of fire. Like, I'm into this. Like, it was a new thing, right? They got to have that balance. That's all I'm saying.
Do you think that the reason they don't do that, they did it once, since Trials at least, they did it once with Gambit when, season of Gambit and tried to do it, which wasn't even a Gambit activity as you described, which is
That's
hilarious.
the thing. It's just it's killing me because I don't think that they've ever actually tried it.
Yeah.
I really
But-
don't. They've tried event PvP activities where they
Yeah.
did like the Valentine's
Small.
Day thing, right?
Yep.
Just really
Can you
small.
have a
and then
smaller
like
icon
a
on some
week.
of these featured abilities? They're like, hold on, let me make it like a dot. You got to
Yeah.
find the dot
Here-
on the screen. Here's a pixel.
for anyone who's still out there saying, Travis, you're crazy, I don't like PvP activities, I'll never play a PvP activity. Let me show you how wrong you are.
Get 'em.
I will show you with one statement. Sparrow Racing League is a PvP activity.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
All right. Sparrow Racing League is a PvP. If you don't think that there's no PvP activity that they could add that they've already built some of the legs for that would immediately make you way more excited to go into that and do 3 Sparrow Racing League races and then go to your story mission, you're out of your damn mind. There are so many ideas that they do that make PvP awesome and that make a PvE PvP mode awesome. There's so many ideas out there. The fact that you guys are accepting bottom of barrel seasonal PvE activities, expect more from your games. Expect more from Destiny. It's a gold mine waiting to be mined. And Sparrow Racing League is just the tip of the iceberg.
That's good.
PvP, guys. It's a PvP mode, damn it.
There's also these things in the game called ships. Remember those? There's things
asking for way too much. Way too much.
I know I'm asking for a lot.
Hey, Bungie did it once. What was that? Halo 4? Halo Reach?
Halo Reach.
Yeah.
It wasn't a PvP mode, but yeah.
Yeah. So what you kind of triggered for me though was the way that they haven't really done it before, and I think maybe the reason why is the risk. If they do new seasonal activities, people get mad about seasonal activities like, well, I got my core stuff. If you mess with the core stuff and it goes wrong, you do the bad PvP update, you buff Arbalest and Lawrence Driver, people are going to be up in arms on Twitter about it if you mess with the meta. If you mess with, I don't know about strikes, but if you mess with Gambit, those Gambit people, everybody's just going to trash on it, and the people who do like it are going to be upset.
I'm saying additive. I'm not saying make it a Gambit season where you add 2 maps to Gambit and you make everybody play Gambit. That's a dumb idea. I'm saying make another mode that's a PvE PvP mode, or make a new game type that's PvP. Do something like that, because they're basically doing the same thing. They're saying, hey, here's a seasonal activity, except for it's PvE, and they're doing that ad nauseum every single season. It's like you could easily just make that thing that they have to repeat one of these other legs that you claim as a pillar that are not functioning like pillars right now. Like, you could really easily build those up by making those the seasonal activities. And for people that say, oh, well, that would alienate the people that don't like Gambit or don't like PvP, all I have to say to those people is that your imagination is getting in the way of you, because you think that you know what their activity is going to be. And I'm saying it doesn't have to be that. I'm saying it could be something crazy and weird and balls to the wall, and wouldn't matter if Arbalest was buffed, if the PvP mode that they added is swords only or Sparrow Racing League or what have you. It would just be fun and new, and it would give more content to the playlists that need it most.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. Let's do it.
Yeah,
That's great. That's a great perspective too. I do feel like people need to hear that, and not enough people do.
Talk it.
Retweet.
Like and retweet. Yeah. So I wanted to get your guys' take. We don't have to spend too long on it. I do want to hear kind of Lego talk about actually what the gun does now. But Telesto obviously got a little crazy. Did a few things, took over a Twitter account, got a little bonkers. And then today we got an emblem in a TWAB.
Yeah.
Now, Tuesday was a little crazy because all of a sudden the gun was firing, it was like sparking and smoking and then you would be able to fire these things that would just like drift up into the air. Theories going crazy town, like Reddit secrets, Aztecross is looking up constellations. I'm doing the same thing because they're like, maybe it goes up and makes this shape. I'm like, okay, these could be stars. Who knows? The community is like rabid, just absolutely hungry for some type of community event. So you get this possible Telesto mystery puzzle. I don't know if it's done yet. We don't know. Obviously, we'll have more next week, or there won't be. But we got the emblem today. Now, they say in the TWAB, very specifically, we are aware that Telesto is acting well like Telesto, honestly. So we wanted to give a little tip for the new lights that may not have heard when Telesto acts up. We just tossed a blanket on it over it until we can put more permanent fix in. Anyway, no puzzles or secrets to be found. Despite what the machine says, we are in full control of the situation, and there is no need to panic. Now, for them to program in a new animation, for it to drift upwards, and then if you fire it straight up, it like crosses weird. For them to do what it's doing now, for Lego saying it basically range, more damage, holds, and then basically pops off the wall and does even more. To put the work in to change the animation for the gun, to build the sparking and whatever it is on top, is not nothing. So speculation is fair in this community because we've had weird stuff happen before.
Yeah.
if this truly is just like Telesto is weird, here's an emblem, and that's it. I want to get your guys' take on that, and then I'll talk to Lego about the gun. But I wanted each of your take on, is this a cruel thing to do to the community? Is it kind of fun? Maybe it ties into this maybe community event that might happen with the, we'll get to like the end of the season 1 that may or may not happen, which we still have no clue. But if this is all there is, what do you guys think?
I mean, I haven't got a chance. I've tried to play it, but I've seen it. And from the outside looking in, it's creative in the sense that they are not, on one aspect, they're not taking themselves seriously, because we all know the history of Telesto and how this thing completely breaks the game, right? So to see them lean into it is hilarious to me, right? So, and to your point, E, that is a lot of work, to really change the fundamental behavior of this gun, right? So it's just like, I do feel, my gut tells me it is leading somewhere. I just don't know where, but it is kind of funny to me. Like they're doing this, and I want to know where it goes, because the fact that you got, the message, saying everything's fine, they're having fun with this. So I do think something may come of it. I don't know what, but it's very, very, it's fresh in a cool little geeky way. But I'm curious for the guys that, like, Lego, and you guys have been playing more recently. Like, where do you guys think this is going? Like that's my thing. I want to know what's the end game of this.
I really, really hope it's going somewhere, because my impression is that they launched this as just a relaunch of Telesto, because Telesto has been broken forever. And then they were like, okay, well, we finally revamped it. It's got a new way it works now, and we're just going to put that in the game. So let's turn this into a celebration of this weapon that's sort of a meme. And I think that was their intent. And the community's reaction was, oh, if they're doing this, it must be some secret event. It must be Whisper the Worm. It must be some crazy activity. And so I think that their issue was they did not set expectations. They did not communicate what this was. And now people are in the game looking for some secret that probably at this point doesn't exist. And so I love what they did. I think Telesto obviously needed a rework for a ton of ideas, or a ton of reasons it needed a rework. I love that they turned that rework into like a fun little community event. Just let's celebrate this weapon and this community. I think that they really kicked themselves by not making it clear what they were doing. And now they have the fans excited about something that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, people are going to look at this as a net negative when it really isn't. It's just like a little fun thing they added to the game. It's not hurting anybody. It's a fun little activity, but because they didn't set expectations, I think it's working against them, unfortunately. But I don't think there is any activity personally. Ooh. I would love it if I was wrong, but I look at this from like a, what were they thinking PR perspective? And I go, oh, they were probably just like, we reworked this weapon. Let's try to turn it into a thing, which is great. But if your community doesn't know that, it's kind of cringy. It really, when I saw like all the people's reaction to it, I was like, oh no, they don't get it. But they don't get.
I get where you're going. The only thing where I give the community a little bit before you go to Lego is that statement in the twilight. They go, anyway, no puzzles or secrets to be found. Despite what the machine says, we're in full control situation, and there's no need to pay. Like, to me, you're leading your audience on. Like, you playing the theatric game. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing that gives me them a little hope that maybe there's something. But I see your point. If it's not, there's going to be blood.
People are going to be pissed. And that's my point, is that I feel like they should have pre-messaged it. Like, hey, Telesto's getting a rework. We're going to do a fun community event, blah, blah, blah. But there is no puzzle. If they would have just been a little clearer. And to be fair, I could be wrong. I could just think that it's just a fun little community event and it's not actually like a puzzle, and there could be one. And if there is, I'll be super happy to be like, okay, awesome, I was wrong. They definitely should have hyped it up. But right now it seems like they screwed up a little bit, and they dropped this without warning and got people a little more hyped than they should have been. So I'm just, anyway, that's me. Lego,
what you got?
It's tough because I hear what all y'all are saying, and it's hard to disagree. Like, but also with the Destiny community, anytime there's even just a little bit of mystery to something, we're like in it. We're theory crafting, spin metal hats. We're all over it, And
literally,
so,
like CB Gray has the spin metal.
CB Scarrow, I know my dudes. They going crazy right now.
Yes, and so, but on the flip side of that, I went in, just for me personally, I went into the event as this is a community event. And when I hear community event, I don't think secret mission. I think, oh, we all sit at the tower and watch something fall for, a full 24 hours, or whatever that was. Or we've had multiple things like that where
Definitely
it was like
a full 24 hours. That was I remember, yeah.
Destiny has not been at its prime doing community events. So if the community event is everyone laughing at the devs and at the Twitter thing and then jumping in and playing with Telesto and trying to figure out is this a puzzle, what's going on with this gun, and then it shoots differently the next day, and that is fun. Like I'm just playing around with it, even if it just ends right here. Like I've had fun with it. Do I want it to end here? No. Am I like, is there a part of me that's disappointed? Do I think the community is going to be disappointed? Definitely. But also, like, it doesn't feel like a net negative, like you were saying. It feels more like that. It does feel like a weird way to just revamp a gun, though. Like, that's the part that doesn't feel right to me, especially when, and this is going to lead into maybe the next part, we'll see. But Telesto is so good in PvP right now. I feel like they can't leave it here.
They can't leave it like
can't be the end.
I saw your clips, bro. I saw your clip. You mapping dudes.
Well, and that's the thing is Telesto has always had unlimited range. Not many people know this, but there on every other fusion rifle, there's damage fall off to half the damage once you hit a particular range. Telesto breaks that rule and hits 39 damage on the explosion and 1 damage on impact, which is the same 40 as a precision frame fusion rifle like main ingredient. But it can hit at any range. The problem is that the explosion, it always, like, they could always get away from it in time. There was a delay, or either that, or in a 1v1 situation, if you're not going for maps, you would be in a fight with a main ingredient per se, and you'd be at a reasonable distance away from them, as you would in Destiny, and they would kill you first. And you would get either they would kill you first or you would trade. Like, you would never win that fight. They would always win or you would trade. And so it was never a S tier gun because of that. But the way it is now, you win that fight every time and you're mapping people from unlimited ranges. So it's like they can't leave it like this. And the explosions that are doing more damage, up to, like, I saw numbers, I think above 50 on one of the explosions that bounces off. And so it's like, surely this isn't the final form because it's so strong. And I could be wrong about this. Maybe they're like, this isn't that strong, but unlimited range and consistency. And not only that, but I haven't talked about this anywhere. Even I did like a short video of it yesterday or this morning, but I haven't talked about this part of it because I wasn't sure. I needed to hear from people who use Telesto, but the aim assist feels crazy high on it right now, which is another reason I feel like it can't stay in this state, because we're dealing with high aim assist fusions right now with linear fusions. Surely they're not gonna leave that in the game like that. So I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the final form. It feels like there's something else. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That would be slightly disappointing. But I've had fun with it while it's here, and I'm definitely going to ruin some people's lives in trials this weekend if they leave it this way. So,
what you think, E? You muted, sir.
Sorry, making sure. To watch all of, like, the last couple of days go down, if it doesn't lead to anything, I feel like this was very poorly implemented baiting of the community. Because we are... I was like, because of what the community does, because there's a Reddit called Raid Secrets that became what it is from this whole damn game and the stuff that they found out before from Wrath of the Machine's gun and Binary and just crazy stuff that's happened, like Corridors of Time was insane. Like, all of those, and whether you call them streamer events or whatever, I mean, all of those have become a thing, and everybody's like, there's a rumor of something, which still may happen after Iron Banner. Don't know yet until we get there. But if this doesn't come to anything, I feel like it was a poor decision to do it, personally, because of how it makes the community get hopeful, and then just basically they inflated the balloon and then shot it with a gun. Like, it doesn't do anything justice for what we have experienced in the past. Bad metaphor, because I'm breaking his...
Yeah.
I took the wind out of it.
Not really deflated if you shoot it with a gun. That's like, we blew it up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You just blew up your hopes. These are your hopes.
Yeah,
and we just shot your hopes and dreams. So,
but they gave you hope.
Yeah.
First.
exactly. So it's
we're back.
We're back. We're back. I broke Travis for a second with a bad metaphor. It's fine. And there is still rumor, if you go literally look up on braytech.org, there's this like 7-stage thing that's sitting out there. I don't know if that's actually going to come to happen in the last couple of weeks, but that's what people thought this was starting to be like, okay, is this taking us something? And it's like, no. And then we get an emblem for it. And it's like, if there's something later and this isn't tied to it, that's like poorly implemented. If this is still nothing, and then as Lego said, I don't know how they're going to fix it. Are they just going to put it back to normal?
I got a thing here.
Okay.
So, well, because all that we've been, the main thing we've been talking about is expectations. That rules the way all of this goes. And the problem in the past is everything feels too hyped. And so what are they doing right now on social media and everywhere is they're trying to like, hey, nothing's happening. Hey guys, nothing's happening. This is all there is. Wouldn't that be the and also, so you've got that side of it. And then on the other side, we've also got the reason they said they're not doing secret missions anymore. At least I think that was said somewhere, is the accessibility of it. Like not that many players could participate, or they weren't sure what to do, or if it was they didn't know about it. And so where was this announced? Immediately when you go and, something's going on with Telesto, go to Twitter to learn more. Everybody should know what's going on, or at least more people. And they're underplaying it so that if something does happen, like it is the perfect opportunity for something to happen, is what I'm saying. Is by not building it up, they have built it up for there to be some kind of secret mission because everybody would know about it. Everybody's involved. Like you drop it right now. I don't know. That would blow my mind for it. But I don't know.
I was like, that would be cool. Like if they're just playing it off and then all of a sudden Telesto does take over or something and like, something weird happens in game, that would be cool. But again, this is where I got to see how the season, like the next few weeks actually go. Yeah. So no, it's like, is there something? What is this building to? Is there a reason for it? And if it's literally just like Telesto's broken, we know it, and here's an emblem, that is unfortunately not what they should do. That is not what you need to do. I'm sorry, but like in a world of a community where you have stuff like raid secrets and people who want secrets and secret missions that haven't happened in a while, and people really want that next one to drop, if you do this as like a tease and then nothing, man, that is like blue balling the whole community, and it's just not great. Yeah,
so he's allowed to say blue balling, but I can't say.
Hey, it's my channel, okay? It's my channel. I can throw those.
You're good. This is unfair. I'm a second-class citizen. I reject this apartheid. We must rise up, commenters.
My goodness,
rise up.
Yeah, and I was like, GMD did say those. Like, I am getting a little tired of emblems. I've got so many, I don't even remember I've got them. I'm just like emblems and shaders. I'm like, I'm kind of good. Let me earn like some ornaments or something that I can actually see on my character. Like,
I'll never say no to a shader, though. I'll never say no.
I am good on the shader.
That's what actually makes doing the dungeons, like the solo dungeon stuff, that is the most
that's the one I'll wear.
Appealing way to get me to do it is there's a shader at the end of it. And this time they didn't do it, so I'm like, I don't think they did this time. But the pirate themed dungeon is like, yes, I'm all about it. Like anything that is a shader, I'm gonna grind for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's weird. I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm enjoying the crap out of God of War, so I'm just kind of like peeking in right now to see how it goes. But yeah, we've got Iron Banner Eruption next week. So if you haven't gilded your title or want to get the title, Eruption is way better than Rift for getting the title at all. So definitely enjoy that one. Eruption's pretty fun. They are fixing the piece in Eruption where it's not giving way too many points for every person who like gets the tag kill. So that's the one thing.
I like Eruption a lot.
Eruption was fun. I actually had fun playing it because you get on a streak and you're primed and now you got to be really aggressive and play, and now it's just the thing where it's like the score is not going to get completely like, oh, you killed the prime person and they're caught up on the other side. It's like it will be a little better now. But outside of that, we got a couple more weeks after that, and then we got the new season. So I am just not sure where it's going to land right now. I'm just saying, if that's all it is, not a fan. If it does more and they play it off and then something actually happens, then I'm like, okay, I see the games you're playing with our mind. But yeah, if they don't, I'm not going to be too happy. That's me though. So
no, I'm with you. I think for me right now, it's just more of a, waiting for that new season. I'm kind of at that point with this current season, got most stuff I need, but I kind of need that refresh.
Grind Iron Banner.
Yeah.
There
I
you
gotta
You
do
gotta
one.
get
I gotta do one
reset. That's
reset.
right.
One reset, and I'm done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then you're done. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think I need that little reset button and hopefully a little bit of a shot in the arm with this mini PvP rework that they seem to be alluding to.
Yeah,
so.
that's got to be one of the future TWABs coming up, and whatever that one drops on, if it's major, I'm gonna be like, all right, guests. I was like, they're probably gonna. Well, I'm trying to think. So we've got TWAB would drop on the 17th.
That might be my last show, guys. I don't know if I'm gonna have it in me after that show. We'll see.
And then Thanksgiving is on the 24th. So they will do something really tiny on the 23rd, and that's it. Like they'll be off. And then you have the 1st. So there are 2 TWABs left for them to discuss this like possible glory thing. So it's either next week or the week right before. And then we're going to get the trailer on like 8 o'clock the morning of or something like that. It's going to be, so I mean, that's kind of where your season's at. Iron Banner, maybe a community. It's also weird for them to do a community event over Thanksgiving if they're going to launch. I never actually like thought of that. If they launched it on the 22nd, because Iron Banner's on the 15th, so it would start on the 22nd at the latest, or they're going to do it in the final week. I don't know. Like that's now even a little weirder. So I never actually put that date together. So
community event is you must gain 100,000 hours as a community spent neglecting your family in favor of Destiny. That's the challenge.
And you have to do it inside of Rumble. Good luck.
Yeah, can we jointly ignore our loved ones for 100,000 hours as a group?
Basically, everyone queues up to 1v1 Lego, and then if you win, you get a movie. You start pulling a movie of the week emblem from Lego's collections, and then if he loses 7 times, then his account gets deleted. So
I hear that Bungie's developing a way to detect if your family is available. They have to be available for the hours to be counted, because if they're like out of town or whatever, it doesn't count, because then
is this like rebuilding the lighthouse, but we're rebuilding the comp playlist?
Correct. Yeah, we're rebuilding the comp playlist.
I forgot about
there
that.
You go
with neglect.
We had to build trials
with neglect.
By the way, I just want to point this out. We rebuilt the trials tower via PvE. I just want to put that out there.
100%.
It was a PvE activity to rebuild the PvP activity. I just want to put that out there. That's how much they hate making new PvP modes. It's unbelievable, guys. It's unbelievable.
Those are bars. You're right. There was a PvE event to get a community event to get PvP trial. I mean,
that is kind of the way Destiny is. I know we're harping on it a lot here, but weapons that you want in PvP are often in PvE, and weapons that you want in PvP are often PvE. And that's kind of the nature of the game to get us to play together. But yes, there is an extent of it that you're like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
Yep. No doubt.
Well, man, this is an interesting chat. I mean, the TWAB was light, but I always kind of enjoy exploring all these discussions in Lego. Man, it's been a blast having you on here. This was a ton of fun. As we get to the end of the podcast, now is your time to, if you got anything else you want to cover topic-wise, or at this point, just let everybody know where they can find all of your glorious montage greatness. So the floor is kind of yours as we wrap up first.
I don't think that I have much else to cover. I have just been digging into a ton of perks that I have to see. There's a lot of stuff that I feel like goes overlooked, and that's how I'll plug my YouTube channel here at the end, is just like perks that people don't dive into, like the fact that Enhanced Swashbuckler gives 6.5 seconds of at 33.3% extra damage in the Crucible, which is a ton, like when you think in terms of like kill clip. Or the fact that Golden Tricorn is basically a better version of Rampage, like those type of things. That's what I dive into. So you can find more about all of that at LegoleFlash on YouTube or on Twitter. Mainly YouTube, though. That's where I've only been doing content creation for about 4 months, and it's kind of just exploded. So
yeah,
it's been a good time
for it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate y'all inviting me on the show. It has been a blast. I love talking Destiny. And this show in particular was awesome because we kind of got to hit just a lot of different aspects of Destiny. Like we talked about PvE, PvP, and even Gambit somehow. So
Gambit got in there.
All right.
All right. Nah, absolute pleasure, man. Lego, love your content. Definitely aligns with my style as far as PvP and thinking outside the box. And any party that talks about builds and perks, I'm instantly a fan. So I'm like, I love that kind of stuff. So and salute to you on the success, and you're killing it, man. And keep killing it in Rumble and hopefully more movies of the week. And it's cool. It's cool to see your success and see the respect that the community is giving you. So continue on, brother.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. For real.
No doubt. Man, what's going on with you, man? What's popping? Oh, shout out.
Yeah. So I was not here last week, so I think I probably have a lot of stuff to catch up on with you guys.
Yes,
But
good to see you.
I reviewed Sonic Frontiers.
Mhm.
You can find that review on IGN.com or on IGN's YouTube channel. Gave it a 7 out of 10. It's a really good game that everyone should play. But it's just such a crazy game. It's such a crazy game, but I really like it. So you should watch my review on that. And then I also played. I went down to Koei Tecmo's
Ooh.
headquarters to
Ooh.
play the new post-beta
Wolong?
build of
Whoa,
Wolong.
whoa,
So I got whoa. Yeah, so
whoa.
I played the new build, which 2 months on, they've already taken feedback from the beta and changed a bunch of stuff. And so I wrote a preview for IGN that you can find right now. That's live. Where I talk about the stuff that they changed and what I liked and what I didn't like and that sort of stuff. So it's cool. And now I'm working on Goat Simulator and chilling, playing God of War, working my way through Half-Life Alyx again, and catching up on games. Actually, it's been great. I've been less busy this week than I have been for the past 6 months. So I'm really excited to get some time in and play games that I want to play rather than the ones that they tell me to. So yeah, it's been cool. But yeah, follow me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning for Zur.
No doubt.
Zur.
How
about you, Cog? What are you up to?
Yeah, man. This week, IOP, you know what I'm saying, returns back in the flesh. We'll probably have, we have Gene Park. Gene Park will make his debut in the realm of the lore. So pick his brain, see what's going on there. Send some love to Maddie. He wasn't feeling too well. So I did some hosting duty on Duke a lot.
Nice.
Actually, we did ultimate on the achievement system and what we would like for a kind of like a rework and an overhaul. And then this week I did Duke with Ben, and we're talking about the whole Doom Eternal situation, which I thought is very interesting as far as OST soundtrack.
Crazy.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
I'm very.
What's up with musicians in the games industry and the rap they're getting? It's so weird.
It's funny you said that. We touched it. I'm actually going to tune in to Bitcast. I want to know how you guys approach it and Hogue as far as that as well from a legal standpoint. But I was very shocked about that account. It's long. I'd highly advise people to read both accounts. I believe from the ID Software game director guy. One is named Marty, the other one's named Mick. I just forget which one is which. But highly read that and then read the response by the composer. And as E knows, I'm very passionate about video game music and the composers and the creators. And I learned a lot of things, So this thing's playing out in the public. It is very interesting. If you got time, read it. It's good. So we discussed on Defining Duke. But that's been pretty much it, man. E, what you got going on, man?
I will be streaming God of War until I finish it. That is literally all I'm doing. I mean, I even told my wife, I was like, I heard Dado saying the same thing because he was just basically saying he's like, because he said Danielle went like goblin mode on Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and he's gonna. So I'm like, I'm like literally, it's like as long as I have breakfast, dogs are good. Peek out every so often, just like nonstop. So it's like tonight, I don't know if I'll get back on another stream, but like Friday and Saturday, my goal is just God of War, big long streams, like weekends might be like 12 hours. I mean, that's the goal, is just, I want to just live in this thing, not get too many spoilers, and then I'm seeing Black Panther on Tuesday. So I'd kind of like to see it before then.
This weekend.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. Another buddy of mine's trying to work on building a computer with a 4090. That's a trick. So, but it was like, it's a monster card and it's a big card and just dealing with all that fun stuff. So Yeah, mostly God of War. I did my solo Grandmaster, possibly Zer tomorrow. Still keeping up with doing Destiny content on the channel. But yeah, I'm just no life in God of War. So if you want to find me, it's Twitch. But the biggest one is Lego. Man, thank you very much for coming on. It is, for one, happy we got you on, and two, it's been a ton of fun just like kind of getting your perspective, and we got some really fun topics tonight that I didn't know we were even going to get to. So that was actually kind of a blast when we kind of wing a show in these weird moments of the season. But yeah, definitely. I'd love to have you back at some point in the future. You are always welcome. So if you just be like, hey, really want to talk about something, yeah, just even for a guest spot, we will get you in. So you are always welcome.
Awesome. Well, I definitely might do that. I loved hanging out with you guys. It was fun to get y'all's perspective as well and everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Chat, you guys have been fun. A lot of generosity here as we ended up streaming. Christopher Sharp with the $20. I think that's a sticker. Zinthos with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you very much. You guys have been amazing. And I think that's most of the super chats. There was one probably earlier I missed, but I've definitely acknowledged you guys with some chat in there. So for this episode number 223, thank you guys. Next week we have Psalm Lab on. So we're going to get into some probably lore discussion. Definitely got very smooth vibes voice to listen to. So if you need your ASMR podcast, we're just going to let him talk to us next week, and we're all going to listen and have a good time. Nice, easy on the ears. But you guys have been amazing. So as we wrap this thing up, it has been
the last
word. We out.